So speaking of Naughty Dog, they just finished Last of Us Season 2, the TV show. And I didn't watch it. I literally watched until the episode Joel died. Oh, I'm sorry, spoilers. And because I was like, they're not going to kill him off in the second episode. I'm like, they're going to, like, move it to later in the season. And nope, they did it. And I watched till that point, and then I watched, like, half of the next episode, and I was like, man, the person who plays Ellie cannot carry this show. And then I got bored, and I haven't thought of watching it since. But anyway, apparently a lot of people thought the same thing as me, because viewership really, really declined after the episode where Joel died. Probably because people were like, there's no way they do this. You know what I mean?
Wasn't Joel also played by, like, a really good actor, too?
Yeah, he's pretty good. Pedro Pascal. He's kind of like the it guy right now. He's playing Mr. Fantastic in Fantastic Four.
Or at least popular.
Popular, yeah. And he was the Mandalorian, which was pretty big for 2 seasons. But yeah, they certainly existed. And everything I've heard is just it's just one of those things that's exactly what you expected. Like, people who watched it and were, like, complaining about it, it's like, you know what the game was. Like, did you expect this to be, like, super different?
So, as far as I'm aware, this is the only optional boss in the game. There's 2 entrances to both sides of this. It doesn't lead to anything they actually need to do. So, I think in the earlier part I said there might have been 2 or 3 optional bosses, but I think this is the only optional boss in the game.
Okay. Let's do it.
One thing I really wish this game had was, like, some sort of post-game. Like, the first game didn't have it either. But it would be cool if they released some sort of DLC like Hollow Knight did, where it's like, here's more of this stuff, but even harder.
What is that? What Song is? Or no, that's the new one.
Yeah, Hollow Knight also released just like a bunch of DLCs.
Okay. Oh, does that mean that new Bloodborne thing is going to be on one of those key cards? That's so annoying.
We'll have to see if Nintendo publishes it their website.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's probably being funded by Nintendo.
It's a really interesting situation. Not that companies have to be married to publishers, but...
FromSoft really seems like one of those companies that will do anything as long as you pay them. Because, like, Bloodborne was funded by Sony.
Right. So
it's just like the most random
I think infamously that doesn't even have a PC port, right?
No.
Like, even 10 years later, and people are still seething about it.
Yeah, and the problem is that I think that was, like, funded by some of the producers of Japan Studio, which has been dissolved for years now, so Bloodborne port will probably never happen. Even though it was made by FromSoft, I think it's because the producers from Sony don't work there anymore.
I do know that...
And there's just been a big thing that Sony is just, like, really distancing themselves from, like, Japanese produced games, like, almost entirely. Even though they're obviously still a Japanese company.
Wait, I don't understand.
They moved their headquarters of Sony Interactive to California.
Oh.
I think in, like, 2020, 2021, and ever since then they've disbanded Japan Studio, and just stuff coming out of Japan. Like, Astrobot was, like, a rare success, but that was, like, one of the only things that Sony, like, funded that was, like, Japanese side.
Interesting. I did not know that at all. I wonder why.
I mean, to be fair, Japan Studio games, like, you know, Gravity Rush, like, they have their niche, and they didn't, like, flop, but they definitely didn't, like, sell super good.
Right, true.
So if you look at it as a very, like, black and white, like, soulless, like, businessman, it's like, yeah, they were justified closing it, but it just feels like they lost something.
However, my counterpoint would be...
And they took all the funds that they saved from closing Japan Studio and other stuff to, like, make garbage like Concord.
Oh, great.
$400 million down the drain.
I was going to say, my anti to what you just said would be, at least the Japan studio releases games. What has Sony had what's the last big Sony game? Astrobot? And that was like October?
Pretty much. And this year it's like all they have is Ghost of Yutai, which is the Ghost of Tsushima sequel.
Right. Yeah, no God of War, no Uncharted, no...
The problem is that
IP.
Sony studios are scrambling because Sony was trying to pivot all their studios to make live service games.
I remember they had, 6 being developed
They
at
had
the same
12 in development at one time.
Very cool.
One of the more famous ones was Naughty Dog was making Last of Us Factions, which got canceled.
Oh, yeah.
So I think a lot of their studios are just compromised, and they have a lot of work that is literally just being, thrown out.
You know what's silly?
Which is why they haven't done, anything in years.
The Last of Us multiplayer from the first game was actually... I didn't play it, but I've seen videos and people talk about it. Was actually, people liked it. It wasn't something you'd be like, I'd buy a game that's just this. But, as a nice little bonus, that's fun. That is one thing that I don't know if we'll ever really see again, is big story games just having, extra multiplayer just for the heck of it. Do you remember when that was a thing? Dead Space 2 had multiplayer that was just here's Dead Space 2 multiplayer. Did Doom 2016 have multiplayer?
I know Eternal had multiplayer. Okay. I'm not sure about 16, because I know that people were kind of I guess it was sort of a controversy that Doom The Dark Ages doesn't. Okay.
Uncharted had multiplayer. This is stuff obviously people forget a lot. Oh, BioShock 2 had multiplayer. And I'm not saying that's the reason anyone bought the games, but it was nice to be oh, I like Last of Us. Wait, there's multiplayer? You get to play as clickers? That's cool. But instead of just having that as a mode on a game, they're put $200 million into it.
Yeah, they make it instead of just being a tertiary thing for fans to play.
Yeah, whatever.
They just make it into this huge giga project, investing so much money, making a live service, and creating systems to sell loot boxes and microtransactions. And then when the single player studio is how do we do this? How do we make a game like this? And you see when Rocksteady, who made all the Batman games, make Suicide Squad, and it's just a soulless, completely obvious cash grab made by a studio that doesn't even know how to make them. It's cool, guys. Thanks, WB, for lobotomizing the studio in this very obviously flawed idea. I'm really glad you did it.
So the whole thing about being a good leader is not in my opinion, is not necessarily that you need to know how to do the stuff yourself, but being a good leader means you're setting people up in the best position to succeed, right? That would be my ultra dream in for a government person, like a governor or a president. It's you don't necessarily have to know everything, just set the most qualified people up to do the thing, right? And them doing that and being oh, people really like the Batman games, and these are these fun, single-player, story-based experiences, so what should we have them make? Oh, a live service multiplayer game. It's the same thing with, Arcane Austin, where it's oh, people really, really, really like Dishonored, and this company's really good at making games like Dishonored, so what should we have them do? Oh, I forget the name of the game. Redfall? Right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Hey, we need to make this vampire multiplayer live service thing. Who should we have make it? Arcane Austin. I mean, right? Because they have a lot of experience in it, and I bet the people working there really like live service slop. It's so dumb. Get a mid-tier studio to do that, or get a studio that's worked on a live service game or whatever. But don't take these people that are good at what they do. I don't know. It's just being Tom Brady. Instead of quarterback, you're a linebacker now. It makes no sense.
Yeah, and the two biggest. I mean, we're talking about them already, but Sony is. Do you remember when they bought Bungie for $3.7 billion?
I do.
Bungie, the studio that had one single game to their name.
Yep.
And now Destiny is effectively dead. They're not making any new content.
Do you know who doesn't even play Destiny anymore?
Nate.
I talked to him the other day, because you know how big he was into Destiny, and I was like, oh, how's Destiny going? He's like, oh, I just kind of stopped playing a year ago. And I was like, dude, no way. Because he was a ride or die, and that shows you how few people are playing Destiny.
Yeah. And Destiny's dead. They're not making any content anymore. And the only thing that Bungie has is Marathon coming out. And I don't know if you've been keeping up with that.
That people stole the art and stuff like that?
That's a huge negative PR, a nightmare, for sure. But not only is that, but Marathon, they did a alpha of it just recently, and no one likes it.
Oh man!
And
is it live service slop again?
Yeah, it's like an
It's
like an extraction shooter.
Oh, okay.
Which is an incredibly niche genre. I don't know why these companies keep
Isn't
making...
Rainbow Six an extraction shooter? That's
No.
pretty big, right?
Extraction shooters are like Escape from Tarkov. Which are...
I probably don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
then.
extraction shooters are games that they drop you in a map with nothing, and you have to find your equipment on the map, and it's like a PvP game.
And it's not like Fortnite.
It's not like... Imagine if Fortnite was a lot like slower paced, and you had to find all your stuff on the map, and you could get like new like assault rifles and armor and stuff.
Well, that is like Fortnite, but I see
just
I see
a
what
lot
you're saying.
slower paced.
Yeah, a lot slower paced. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a battle royale, but more loot based, and you can leave if you like complete the map without dying. You can bring the loot into other maps, or you get to keep it. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, wasn't Marathon like the first game, or at least the one before Halo that they worked on?
Yeah, I mean, their first game, I think, was literally a Pong clone, which was called...
Based.
It was Gonk, which was literally just Pong spelled backwards.
Hey, I mean, you gotta start somewhere. But yeah, that's brutal. And then I saw that they...
And yeah, Marathon was like, it was a pretty cool, like, right in the heels of Doom... like a year after, and they made 3 of them, and like they were like pretty solid games. Obviously, they were cult classics because Bungie wasn't big until Halo. But it's like, why would they use that IP that has like no weight at all?
Maybe as like a fun side passion project, but not your only thing you're doing.
And the other thing I wanted to talk about companies exploding because they're stupid and greedy. WB is like, we're talking about Sony being bad, but like WB is imploding from the inside out. Not only just their games divisions, but like everything.
Didn't they close the studio that made Middle-earth?
Yeah, they closed Monolith.
Oh, yeah, right. Which is, hey, we're gonna play a Monolith game after this, Condemned 2.
Because they were making a Wonder Woman live service game.
And they were working on that for years.
And the other thing I just wanted to mention is that, that Hogwarts Legacy was like a huge giga success.
Oh, yeah.
Literally made $1 billion in revenue.
Even I liked it.
Yeah, it sold more than 10 million copies, made $1 billion in revenue. And then Suicide Squad came out and flopped badly. I mean, the game's dead. And you know what WB Games investors were going on about in the future of their studios?
Live service.
They're just like, we're going to make more live service games. Right in the heels of Suicide Squad flopping, and it's like, what are they even thinking?
I mean, the worst... I watched a pretty detailed video on this with, I don't know if you ever heard of the YouTube channel, it's called How Money Works. It's just kind of interesting to see.
Oh yeah, I've seen a couple of those.
Anyway, the worst thing to ever happen, and the guy who actually came up with the idea literally said it's the worst idea ever, is these companies making decisions solely for the investors is the worst thing to ever happen to capitalism, to business, anything. Because these people should not have like a say in it. They should not have an opinion. Just let the people make the games, and if you want to put money into it, put money into it. But these companies trying to constantly make the graph go up so they get more investors is just the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
For anything. Not just games.
And
anything.
these investors, like the other problem is that investors just do not have long-term goals in mind. Yeah. They just want to pump and dump the stock as fast as possible.
Yep. They want to see it go up short and then be like, cool, and then just move on to the next thing. And that's especially becoming tough and unsustainable when video games keep taking longer and longer to make. So these investors aren't going to stay around while, like, it takes 7 years to make a game. And, like, why would they think that Wonder Woman would be a big enough IP to make some, like... I assume they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on it. I mean, if they were working on it for, like, 7 years.
Yeah, easily.
Why would they think Wonder Woman was that big? The only reason the Wonder Woman movie did so well is because that was right when Cape Slop was at its biggest with, like, the Avengers and stuff like that. And that was like a one-off. The second Wonder Woman movie, everyone freaking hates. Yeah, that's so... Man, it is so bizarre. The decisions they make on this. It's like they want to, like, actively lose money, which is just very funny.
It's just that they say the things that investors want to hear, and then they give these unreasonable projects to these studios that don't know how to do it, and are a bad idea in the first place. And it's like, I wonder why our game division is dying and we have to gut Monolith. It's like, this is your fault. This is all the upper management fault.
But of course, they're not the ones that get get gutted.
The people, the CEOs that approve these decisions are going to get an exit package of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Holy crap! What the heck happened?
That took your whole thing.
I think it double hit me or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's absolutely brutal, and I don't want people to lose their jobs. And
that's the worst thing. It's like, I think there's a lot of catharsis of chuds being like, these developers are getting what they deserve. And it's like, no.
The people getting fired are like mid-level.
They're not. They're just doing the thing that they're told to do. It's literally not their fault.
Yeah. Because you know that Arcane Austin fought hard to not make Redfall. You know that they were like, this isn't for us. We're not the place to do this for. You know what I mean? And obviously, who owns them now? Xbox? Microsoft?
Yeah.
I think Microsoft. Microsoft obviously like, I don't care.
Jerry? Is that you? I don't care!
When will Seinfeld ever not be funny? Never.
Even though Jerry is, like, probably the least funny, well, I guess Kramer's less funny. But he just has a really funny voice to just say anything about.
I think everyone can agree that George is the GOAT character. No! You were right there, you got the double hit. I think Elaine's my least favorite. I'm sorry, ladies. It would be, not including the... Actually, including Newman, it would be, George, Newman, Jerry, Kramer, Elaine.
I like Elaine better than Kramer. I don't know why I don't. I mean, I think Kramer's a fine character, but he has, like, one joke.
He's wacky, bro. The best,
Dude, these attack patterns.
The best reoccurring joke of all time is every time Larry David...
I just remembered I unlocked the new armor parts, so if I lose this time, I'll buy those.
Nice. Yeah, the best reoccurring joke of all time is whenever Larry David talks about George Costanza as a character, and he's always like, yeah, but he's a good guy and whatever, and literally every single time they're like, he's a dunce, he's an idiot, he's stupid, he's the worst human. And Larry's like,
it's really not that bad.
It's not that bad, you know. It's just like, they probably did that 15 times on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I'm like, I keep it coming. This is fine. Man. This game is such a glass cannon, because you get your life back so fast.
Yeah, I have pretty crappy armor on. Yeah, and that charge attack, he has he either like goes really fast or it's like a delayed attack, so it's kind of a trap. All Alright, this part is almost over. I'm gonna get the, you get a up movement upgrade for beating this boss.
I just hope that... I said this before, but the worst thing about the game industry right now is because games take so long to make. Like, 20 years ago, if, like... so, like, when Resident Evil 4 came out, right? And it did, like, all the QTEs, the QuickTime events, and all that stuff. Within, like, a year, maybe 2, there was, like, a ton of RE4 clones, right? Out. And they were testing the waters, and some did okay, and some did not okay, or whatever. But now games take so long to make that when something hits really good, then these companies are like, oh, let's just make this. And it takes 5 to 7 years. If not longer. And by that point, no one cares. It's, like, ridiculously rare for a game like Fortnite to still be as big as it is 10 years later. Even something like Destiny, where they're like, Destiny 2 is the game for the next 10 years or whatever. It was like...
Yeah, and that's why Concord flopped so hard. I mean, obviously it was a very unappealing direction they were going in. But it was literally just on the laurels of being like, Overwatch is a big game, isn't it? And then they spent 8 years making it.
But by the time they made it, Overwatch was not a big game.
Yeah, it's like Overwatch has been usurped by a bunch of stuff now.
Yeah, it's
That's
crazy.
Why chasing trends in an industry where anything decent takes 5+ years, it
can't.
does not work.
You just have to look at them and be like, all right, this other company did this good thing. How can we learn something from that for our game, you know? But you can't be like, let's just do that. Let's just do what they just did. It's like, no! Because it's just going to be not only bad, but it's going to take way too long.
I'm just going to real quickly clean up this area. We just got the high jump, which is pretty cool. Should only take a couple minutes.
I
don't want to start with it next time.
I wish friggin' higher ups could see that. Like, it makes no sense. And the studios and the places that are doing good, you don't really hear from them too much. You just hear from all the absolute colossal failures. But I'm telling you, in a world where Disney can make Star Wars an unattainable IP, you can literally mess up anything. Like, I think the only IP that I can think of right now that is, like, absolute glitch-proof is Pokemon. I mean, the Pokemon games have sucked for, 5 years? Mm-hmm. And Pokemon cards, everyone's pissed because a bunch of resellers are waiting outside Target and making it that kids like Ferris can't get Pokemon cards because everyone's just flipping them. And it's just a mess. Pokemon, sucks. And yet people still are in love with Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah, Pokemon, especially, the fans just do take anything. The games can be absolute garbage, and they do not care.
I mean, Scarlet and Violet, they came out, 2-3 years ago, and they still sell really, really, really well. Which is crazy, because, no one likes them. No one's like, yeah, this is great. You know?
So this is another ring that is a nerf version of the HP Restore. But this one is, unlike the one I have on, which, even though it takes 9 slots, is still amazing, game-breaking good. This one is, absolutely worthless. Because it's 0.5 damage inflicted, but if you do less than 1 damage, with the calculations, you don't restore HP. So that means you have to do 200 damage to restore 1 HP,
Oof.
which is beyond worthless.
Yeah, because you take just a little bit over 200... with your sword swing. So you would literally only get 1 HP back every time you hit him with the sword.
As opposed to, every single one of these restoring. Yeah. It's not even close. It's obviously an oversight. They clearly did not expect people to do this, but it's still ridiculous how... And that 0.5 damage one that's garbage takes 6 slots. So
wow.
They still thought it was good. It's like, no, it's not even the same.
Some of these rolls, you're barely taking over 200 at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, you still are, but you're still, you're barely taking over 200.
And we're going to beat the game at, level 65. And, by then, with, the last, Rocket Punch upgrade and the, Sword upgrade, I'm going to be doing, the Rocket Punch is probably going to do, ooh, wow. I'm probably going to be doing, 400, 500 damage, but that's still, 2 HP on a 10-second cooldown.
In conclusion, Sony, make games. Oh, I wanted to say earlier, I know we only have like a minute left. I generally like Sony IPs, but the one I will never understand is Horizon. I don't get it. I don't get why people like it. I don't get why it was popular. It's just like Sony slop, which I admit I do play and stuff, but like boring and like vacuous.
Honestly,
at least Ghost of Tsushima's like absolutely gorgeous, and based on Japanese lore and whatever, and that's cool. But
so the one thing about Horizon that I find interesting is that it technically on paper sold really well. But, like, whoever talks about the Horizon
literally
games?
nobody.
And it's like, I think what happened was that, it wasn't really prevalent for Forbidden West, the second one, but Zero Dawn was a bundle game in every PS4 for, like, 3 years.
Oh. So you think that's why there's, like, so many copies out there?
I think that's exactly the reason why. They bundled it in with, like, probably... I mean, the game sold 20 million... for Zero Dawn. I bet they bundled it in 15 million PS4s. Like, it's a Sony IP. I bet the game sold, like, and that was during the period where everyone wanted a Sony movie game. So it probably sold, like, 5 million copies naturally.
Right.
But everything else, I think it was just like, here's your bundle, bro.
It's just interesting because there's, like, no general hype. Like, if people say the words, like, God of War, like, a bunch of people get stoked. And obviously Spider-Man, people love the 2018 Spider-Man, and even Ghost of Tsushima, which I think was kind of like not as big of a game. I think people were kind of hyped for Yotai, but Horizon has some fans, but I
can't do this. Alright, yeah, I think we're pretty much
that's just one that I don't get. As someone who likes stuff like that, it was just so boring to me. With the setup. So,
alright.
That's my TED Talk. I hope you enjoyed. Next time we'll be back with more!
Hopefully I can finish this game in 2 more sittings. We only have 1 more movement upgrade to do, and there's only 3 areas left, but I think... I mean, this factory place is just ginormous.
Yeah, it looks huge.
It's probably the biggest area of the game, so hopefully we can finish it in 2 more sittings.